We're going to be over in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter here in a little bit, so if you want to turn over there, we'll go there. We're in the season of gift giving. It's coming up. The holidays can be tricky. The holidays can be an interesting kind of thing to navigate for folks. Last week, I know that in David's lesson, he talked about over in Exodus chapter 17, Amalek and the attack on Israel, and Moses up on the mountain and the guys fighting down in the valley. And so this Thanksgiving for us was a different Thanksgiving for Glenn and I, because our kids were spread out everywhere, and so it was just the two of us. And so it was a much different type of holiday than what we've ever experienced. And for us, it wasn't a problem to navigate, and I'll tell you why. It's because I want to share with you, today is kind of a sermon about, it's both kind of a story of what I went through, and also a sermon at the same time. There was a time in my life, very young, where I was in the valley, and it was a difficult time, and I was living at home. I was, working full time but broke, and going to school at night, and at that time, my mom had cancer, and to live with someone with a terminal illness, it's a very heavy thing, and I know some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so navigating through that, got through that, and then married my beautiful wife, but lost a very dear friend. I had a friend who was going to be in my wedding, and I lost him to cancer like just after our wedding. It was really just a very heavy time. And it kind of weighed me down, it weighed me down, and it made me realize it was a lesson that I needed to learn very early in life, that if I was going to be joyful, if I was going to have joy in life and be able to navigate these things, joy was a choice. It wasn't going to be circumstances. Up until that time, my life was pretty charmed. I really had just great parents and just a really great life. And so what I learned through that heaviness is that I needed to lean into my faith in a very real way so that I can understand. Now, one of the great gifts my parents gave me was a faith in God. And I knew that at that point I needed to choose to be happy and not allow circumstances to dictate how I felt. And so I dug into the scriptures, and I'm going to share some of the scriptures that really helped me kind of navigate that time in a way that was productive and good. And I'm going to say that they were meaningful to me, and I'm hoping, as I do these things, as I say these, I hope that it's helpful to you as well, because the holidays can be tricky, It's funny because we had 0 turkey this year, and the meal that we had was kind of funky, but it was fine. We enjoyed it, but it was because I was able to keep centered about what joy really is. And so I'd like you to, over in Deuteronomy chapter 6, I'm going to get my glasses out, and the first thing I read here that really just spoke to me was this verse right up at the top. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Wow. That was really important for me to hear, because when you're in the depths of feeling the difficulties, the weight of the world, there is a vulnerability to start kind of blaming God or putting yourself distance between you and God. And I think, in my opinion, God gave us this command because he's like, look, I'm going to command you, you are to love me, because life's going to be difficult, and there's going to be times where you're going to be tempted to push away from me. And so it was really important for me to just say, okay, no matter what, I'm going to make a priority to love God through all of this heaviness. And that's going to really help me. Besides that, when you look at, and I'm going to turn and look up here, so excuse me, it says, these words which I command you today shall be on your heart, shall teach them diligently to your sons and shall talk to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign in your hand, and it shall be as frontals on your forehead. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And I was just, I was so blessed to be gifted with parents that had faith. And they did that for me. They gave that to me. So when I was feeling that heaviness, that's where I turned to. I turned to God. And I'm going to say my beautiful wife, what she tries to do is everywhere in our house, every room has some reference to God in our house. And she's kind of following that same tradition because it's so important to not allow the heaviness. And look, I didn't know that the Swaders were going to be here this morning. There's a heaviness that they're going through right now. And so it's something that leaning into your faith is what's going to help you get through this, definitely. It did me. When you're in that valley. And the pivot for me was learning to be grateful. I think one of the wonderful things about Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays as an American tradition, I think I said last week, is that it's about gratitude. And gratitude is transformational because it changes your motivation of who you are. We just did the Lord's Supper to understand that Jesus died for us, and then out of that sacrifice, we, out of gratitude, change our priorities to serve Him. And so, as we continue this reading, it says, "Then it shall come about when the Lord your God," this is what really struck me, "it shall come about when the Lord your God brings you into a land which He swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, to give you great splendid cities which you did not build, and houses full of good things which you did not fill, and hewn cisterns which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant, and you eat and are satisfied. Then watch yourself that you do not forget the Lord who brought you from this land." And then we're going to go over to chapter 8. "Beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping His commandments and His ordinances and His statutes which I commanded you." And then all the way down here, "Otherwise you may say in your heart, my power and the strength of my hand made me this wealth. But you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who is giving you the power to make wealth and may confirm His covenant with you." Now, I was broke at the time, but I understood everything that is good and positive in my life at that very moment. God is the source of that. He is the source of it. And so out of gratitude, then I needed to be grateful to God. The fact that I had a job, the fact that I was able to go to school, all those things, I started weighing in the positive things that were happening in my life, and that who could I account that to? Well, it's because I'm to love the Lord my God with all my heart, soul, and mind, and understand that He is the source of all good things, even through the heavy things. God is the source of all those things. And I'll tell you, it was transformational to me in the sense that it changed my prayer life from asking to thanking, right? From asking to thanking Him as I started my day and developed the gratitude as my foundation for service, right? Service. And that's where I want to take this pivot, is that God blesses us with so many things, so many great skills. And that out of gratitude to Him, out of everything that He's given me, I want to serve. I want to serve Him in a way that blesses not only me, but blesses other people. And in doing that, I went from kind of this heaviness to a lightness. I'm not great at graphics, but it did. It lifted me up. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't right away. Listen, folks. When you go through a terminal illness, a couple of them back to back, it's a heavy thing. It's not easy to recover. It scars you in some ways because death wasn't meant to be part of our existence, right? We were meant to be together forever, and then sin separated us, and now we have this fracture of what God wanted us to be, and now we experience death. And so, how am I going to navigate that and be a happy person, a joyful person, a person that is serving God and serving others and loving God and understanding that God has given me these skills, it was really transformational. I say that as once I had children are naturally selfish, just the way children are. No offense, kids who are still here. But kids kind of self-serving. So I think I've told you this before, that my kids, I would ask them to do something, and they'd be so heavy, they didn't want to do it, right? And so when they would ask me to do something, because of this transformational experience that I had through losing my mom, losing my close friend, and losing other people, and it becomes cumulative after a while, folks, is that I started saying back to them when they'd ask me, I would say, yes, it's my natural inclination to serve you, And so to try and teach them that when they ask me something, I would be wanting to serve them, so that when I ask them to do something, they would understand that service it's a beautiful thing, because you cheat yourself of the blessing when you serve other people. Oh my, what a wonderful, uplifting thing. When there's heaviness in your life, and you have an opportunity to serve someone else, what a transformational, wonderful thing to do, right? I mean, that's what we're called to do. We're called to serve other people with the skills that God gave us. And I knew I made a breakthrough when, I think I told you this before, I was sitting at a Thanksgiving where we were all together, and my nephew, I asked something about food, and my nephew, who isn't with me every day, said, "Uncle Dan, yes, it's my natural inclination to serve you," and he got up and gave me something. I knew that I had made progress in my family. So, here's the pivot. Gratitude to me equals service, the gift of service. And I want to look at something in the Old Testament, and I want to look at something in the New Testament for you today. It's a rather short lesson. We're moving through it pretty fast, and I just, thumbs up. I give you a few minutes back to your Thanksgiving weekend. But let's go here. In the Old Testament, we have, over in Exodus, when God asked them to build the tabernacle so they could do sacrifices to him, right? What did he do? Well, because I can't read that, I'm going to read this back here, so excuse my back. It says, "Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, See, I've called by name." Now, I don't know how people named their kids back in the Old Testament days, but it was basically the number of consonants and vowels must have been really big. So I'm not even going to try it. Son of Uri, the son of Hur, the tribe of Judah, I have filled him with the Spirit of God and wisdom and understanding and knowledge and all kinds of craftsmanship to make artistic designs for work in gold and silver and bronze, in the cutting of stones, for the settings and the carving of the wood, that may work all kinds of craftsmanship. Behold, I myself have appointed him with Oholiab, the son of, and the tribe of Dan, and in the hearts of all skillful, I put skill that they may make all that I have commanded you. God gave them these great skills. He gave them these great skills. Do you think that for any moment, one moment that they decided, I'm not going to use that skill? They were blessed with this great skill, and it was an honor for them to serve. And can you imagine the joy that they felt each time they went into the tabernacle and they saw the fruit of what they built? How amazing was that, right? New Testament for us, folks. Romans chapter 12. Therefore, I urge you, brethren, by the mercies, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice. These guys were making stuff in the Old Testament for dead animals. We're doing living sacrifice, right? Acceptable God, which is your spiritual service for worship. You do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I'm going to tell you that service transforms. It's the renewing of your mind, When I was heavy in just the losses that I was having, I knew I had to lean in to serve. And service is what lifted me up. And I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. I'm not saying that it happened overnight, but it was service that really helped lift me up. And I'm going to tell you that it's something that has been just such a great joy in my life. Even in high school, I was in some kind of service club where all we did was serve in the community, and it was just so wonderful. When you're a kid at the giving of time, at this time of year, you want to get the gifts, right? But as you mature as a person, you mature in your faith, what's the most wonderful thing you can do is giving a gift to someone. Just think about how God loves us so much, and how excited he gives to give gifts. And I look around this room, and I just see so many different gifts. It's amazing that we're all gifted differently. It's just such a testament to the unique spirit of God that we're given all these different gifts. And I could just look around, I could just start naming people of all the different gifts, but I don't want to miss anyone. But wow, you guys are amazing. But when you start thinking about this, since we have different gifts, grace given to us, each one of them, exercise them according to prophecy, portion of his faith, serving. So he who teaches and teaching, he who exhorts in exhortation, who gives with liberality, he who leads with diligence, shows mercy with cheerfulness. I just challenge you to think about what is your gift? What is your gift, and how can you give back? God's blessed you with that. God has given you whatever gift you have. Understand that he's the source of every good thing in your life. And I tell you that every morning on my drive into work, the first thing I pray about is just praising him and thanking him for another day. Because like I said, these cumulative losses, I start understanding the time under the sun is a blessing. It's a short time. And there's many that I have loved very, very dearly that they're not here anymore. And I mourn, I've lost that association with them now. But I thank God that I had them for the time that I did. I mean, it pivoted in my mind that, hey, start being thankful for just that relationship and that time that you had with them. And how each one of those persons that have had an impact on my life and probably are a fabric of who I am and how I speak and the things that I do, they're still there with me. And so I just challenge you to think about, how can you serve? Now, I do want to, so what would it be like, do you think, if in the Old Testament that these guys that God gifted, we had all those names, that they had all those skills, do you think for a moment that they decided, I'm not going to use that skill because I'm not really sure about God. I'm going to just, I'm just going to use this skill for my own benefit, right? Do you think that they thought about that? Probably not. I mean, we don't have anything to give us any kind of idea that they did that. But can you see how objectionable it would be to God that he blessed you with a gift, and all you used it for was your own profit and your own. You imagine that what God would have thought of those guys in the Old Testament, said, hey, I gave you all this skill and gold and woodworking, and I didn't build anything for the tabernacle, but I made a bunch of gold stuff that I could sell at the auction, right? Can you imagine what that would be like? Well, we don't have to imagine too far, because in the New Testament, we have this parable, the parable of the talents. And I'd like you to just consider this, read of it, is that there's these three people, and I'm going to turn again, forgive my back. It's just like a man, and you can torture these parables into twisting around. I'm just going to give you a real generic read on this parable. Gave one 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, each according to his own ability. He went on his journey. So talents being, it was money, right? But the thought process is, that I want you to think about, is giftedness, right? Okay. So he gifted one with 5, one with 2, another 1. Immediately one received 5 talents, went and traded with them and gained 5 more talents. In the same manner, the one who had 2 talents gained 2 more, but he received 1 talent, went away and dug a hole, put it in the ground, and hid his money. And after a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. The one who received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 more talents, saying, Master, you entrusted 5 talents to me. See, I have gained 5 more. And his master said to him, Well done, you good and faithful slave. You are faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Also, the one who received 2 talents came up and said, Master, you entrusted 2 talents to me. See, I've gained 2 more talents. Well done, good and faithful servant. So the principle here is that God has gifted you with something. He's gifted you with some talent, some ability to serve in his kingdom. What are you doing with it, right? There's some people that are just extremely talented. I would love to be one of those people, but I'm the 2 talent guy. I'm the 1 talent. I'm not the 1 talent guy because I'm trying to use my talents. But God's blessed them because, look, I'm going to tell you, when you serve, when you use your talents, it multiplies on top of itself, the joy that it brings and the blessing. And you can see that God blesses that and loves that. So then the 1 talent guy comes up and says, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. I was afraid and went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. So this is commentary. This is not scripture. This is Dan kind of commentating, so just making the difference here, is that this cat had 1 talent, and he didn't really believe the master would return. But he was, playing it safe, and so he just buried it, just in case he would return, right? He didn't even go put it in the bank because he didn't want anyone to know. He didn't want anyone to know that the master gave him that talent, so that if the master didn't return, he could just claim all of it for himself. He could claim that talent and say, hey, that's mine. So there's no record of it, right? And I'm going to say that, to me, that is like the person who God has gifted them with some beautiful avenue of service, and they just claim it for themselves. It's like, hey, they give no credit to God. They just think, hey, this is all me. This is Dan Buttry. I did all this. And that God does not like that. He hates that, right? He wants us to recognize that he is the giver of that. In fact, we see that in the answer here. But his master answered, said to him, you wicked and lazy slave, you knew what I reap, did not sow, and gather where I scattered seed. Then you ought to have put my money in the bank, and on my arrival I will receive my money back with interest. Therefore, take that talent away from him and give it to one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has more shall be given. So just the idea there that when God gifts you these talents, these abilities, the ability to serve, it's incumbent upon you to use that in a way. And I'm going to tell you that as we go through a holiday season, that can be tricky, right? I mean, it can be tricky. And so my thought to you is just, look, different holiday seasons are different each year. It's just different, right? But I'm going to tell you that the joy that you can have, no matter what, is in service, in serving others, and lifting others up, even if you're having some heavy times, right? And so for me, what I learned very early in life is that don't try and judge any holiday by some memory of some previous holiday, because typically the memory of that previous holiday has been inflated, and it was probably about as normal as it was, but in your mind you've made it so big that it can never measure, and then you rob yourself the joy of the holiday season, of that holiday season. And so how you stop that is that you lean into service. And so I leave you with this, so what? So what's the so what? God is the source of all good things in my life, both physical and eternal. I just want you to just drink that in. God is the source of all good things, no matter what, both physically and eternal. God's blessed me and each one of us with individual gifts to do works of service in the kingdom. I am both obligated and blessed to use those gifts God has given me. I feel an obligation that if God has given me a gift, that he is just as he gifted those men and those individuals to build the tabernacle, He gifted them that, but they were obligated to use that to build that tabernacle so that sacrifices could be made. And if I'm gifted with whatever gifts I can, I'm going to be living sacrifice. I'm going to use those gifts as best I can, whatever that is. And so I challenge you to, in doing so, I'll lift up both spiritual brothers. Okay, I think this might be caught up. Okay. I will be lift up. Okay, so if you do that, in doing so, I'll be lifted up, my spiritual brothers and sisters. In the process, I'll lift myself up by fulfilling God's eternal purpose in my life. So I'm going to say, if you're feeling down during this season, which it can happen, is lean into service, because that's what God wants you to do. I think that's the biblical. There's so many other verses that could be used for this, but these are ones that really just impacted me and helped me through a time where I was really feeling the heaviness of life. And so to think about this week, what is my gift? What is the gift that I can do in the kingdom? What is the work that I can do in the kingdom, right? What has God gifted me? How can I better develop and use my gift in the kingdom work in 2026? Who can I serve? Who can I serve today with that gift that God's blessed me with? And who in my life could use a word of encouragement during this holiday season? And so I'm going to leave you with that, but understand that the greatest gift that God gave was his son. And just read a scripture here as we close out the lesson today. And it's just the one that I think fits this lesson and the closing of this in John 3. So, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send the Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world might be saved through him. He who believes in him is not indeed, he who believes in him is not indeed, he who has not believed has been indeed already, because he has been not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. This is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than the light, for their deeds were evil. For everyone who does evil hates the light and does not come to the light, for fear of his deeds will be exposed. But he who practices the truth comes to the light, so that his deeds may be manifested as having been wrought in God. So let's be the light. Let's go out and let's be the light in this holiday season. Let's be the light in the lives of folks that don't know God. Let's give them the greatest gift they can have, which is a faith in Jesus Christ, a saving faith in Jesus Christ. And so I leave you with that. We can, as we stand and sing, if you're ready to make that commitment today. I see so many here that are already, but if anyone is ready to be baptized, I've got a warm pool at home. 24/7, we can baptize you. My wife just adopted, of course, I say my wife, but I adopted 2 dogs, and they professionally killed every blade of grass in the backyard, so it's not quite as green, but it's still beautifully placed to get baptized. So we do that. All right, Nick, come on up and sing us out.